quedaré libre de este indecible terror. Sentí que mi alma se alejaba hacia las tinieblas, impulsada por una fuerza desconocida. Deteniéndome, empecé a flotar sin objeto en la desolada extensión del espacio. Veía sin ojos, sentía sin cuerpo. Mi alma era ya solamente un pensamiento en la nada. ¡Era la muerte!
Okay. And welcome to the Things from Beyond podcast, episode 1.
Here we are, man.
Okay.
Hey, glad to be here.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
So, as you can see, welcome to, I don't know, are we calling this place the dungeon or?
I don't know. Well, I don't know what we would call this place. We'll get it named.
Yeah.
Okay. As we podcast from here, we'll figure out a good name for this location, this secret underground, undisclosed location of doom.
So this is the first episode, and we're starting the Things from Beyond podcast to get out what the message of Things from Beyond is, what it entails, how we want to bring attention to pop culture, through the artwork, through the discussion of the music, and that's all going to come together in the coming podcast.
So that's the question we're trying to answer, right? Is what is Things from Beyond?
Right.
Like, so we'll talk about ourselves. So so there's Things from Beyond, which is our record label,
right,
and also kind of a retail outlet for imported music, all physical media,
right,
and also a place where I sell my art, right. And with this podcast, what we want to do is talk about that label and talk about the bands we have on it, and we also want to talk about the larger genre of doom metal, right? Which is
multifaceted, right?
All of our bands that we work with are somehow connected to that, right? Somehow connected to the doom metal genre and all the little sub-genres and stuff that fall under it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we want to talk about all that stuff over the episodes, right? Over the course of this thing.
Right.
Talk about our bands, and then talk about doom at large, do kind of doom history.
Yeah.
So, and then get into gear, get into the musicians.
The chase for tone.
Yeah, the eternal chase for tone.
That's multiple episodes in itself.
Yeah, right. And then all the themes that come up in the music, right? Horror themes, marijuana,
space,
Satanism, and outer space,
and
desert
space,
like desert bliss.
Yeah.
Burned out desert bliss, and mountains. Like, it's all kind of. So it's not like one thing. We can't just say doom is one thing.
Sure.
But it's. So we want to explore all these little ideas that make up doom metal and all the associated stuff. That could be really fun, because there's a lot of great music out there. But bringing it back to who we are.
Yes.
So in Mexico City, there is a great doom metal scene. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I kind of stumbled upon that during the pandemic, looking for new music and new bands, and I found this cool little scene online. I found some stuff about it, and that just sort of led to what we're doing now. Yeah. So
because the scene in Mexico City is where you're primarily sourcing a lot of the new material from.
That's right, man.
There's a lot of good bands coming out of there.
Yeah. So most of the bands on the label are from Mexico City.
There you go.
There's a couple from Durango,
right,
which is farther up north. Mexico City's down south and kind of up in the mountains.
Right.
It's a really interesting country, really diverse place, really diverse landscape. Cultures are different in different areas of the country.
Well,
So
absolutely.
like the guys from up north are real different than the guys from down south.
Yeah.
And Mexico City's this huge, sprawling, fascinating megatropolis.
Right, it's like an anime almost.
Yeah, man. it's a world capital. It's Tokyo. It's London. It's New York, Los Angeles. It's up there with all the the major cities of planet Earth.
Right.
So there's this really cool scene that I found, and I was looking around for trying to get copies of that stuff on vinyl, on physical media.
Nowhere.
And there's a couple of labels in Europe, and in Spain and in Poland and in Sweden and in the UK that have put out some of the Mexican stuff. Was just sort of all over the place.
Right.
And I was able to kind of find some of the early stuff. Or when I was first looking, I found a couple of things that way through those labels. But there's not a label that was exclusively doing that.
Right.
Outside of Mexico that's putting it out on vinyl.
Right. Which is weird. Why? I've always considered Mexico City, like a DIY kind of place that I would think there would be all kinds of labels putting that stuff out.
Well,
down there.
you know, so to that, man, this is really cool. There's this really amazing label that is there,
Yeah.
and they put out 2 or 3 things on vinyl, but they mostly put out CDs and they put out
Sure.
digital streaming stuff.
Of course.
It's
just
called
yeah.
Loud, Slow, Distorted Riffs,
Okay.
LSDR, and it's a couple of brothers and their friends that run it.
Okay, right on.
And they go to shows and they record the live session, and they'll
put that out.
they'll
for
put that out on CD and out on streaming. It's really, and they've done this for dozens of bands, and I
Yeah.
was able to find a lot of these bands in Mexico, kind of like through the stuff that they've put out.
and not a lot of vinyl.
Well, they've only done a couple things on vinyl. You know,
Yeah.
they really focus on CDs and making digital streaming stuff available.
Well, I mean, it's the quickest way to get stuff out to the people, especially if it's a live
Dude,
performance.
vinyl as I learned with this project, man, vinyl takes so long and it's really slow and expensive, and I could totally they see the appeal of putting out CDs.
Yeah.
But you know,
But there is
thing.
there's people who want vinyl.
people want vinyl,
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of what I started doing with the label. I started it as a way of bringing these amazing bands from Mexico, pressing their stuff on vinyl, and then getting it distributed and sold here in the U.S. Because no one was doing that. It's great music, and now we can start, you know, getting it out there on physical media, on vinyl. Because the audiophiles out there and the doom heads, especially these metal heads, man,
They want vinyl.
they want vinyl. Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. There is a dedicated group of people who are like, if you give me the right vinyl,
Yeah.
I will fucking buy it.
Yeah. And the doom culture, the doom community,
They prefer vinyl.
they really do prefer physical media.
Yeah.
And that's just been fun and interesting, kind of exploring that aspect of it and learning how to do that.
Yeah.
So Things from Beyond was a way of bringing all these different things together. I was also importing vinyl from European distributors and bringing it here and selling it.
Right.
Of South American music and European music, all doom and stoner stuff that wasn't being sold here in the U.S.
That people were fans of.
Yeah, no one was bringing
in
it
the US.
together here.
Yeah.
No one was making it available. So started as kind of a website retail operation and morphed into this making our own stuff. You know, like,
Yeah.
oh, I like this band. No one's putting this out. Let's put it out.
Right.
You know, let's get it made and get it available up here and get it on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and
Yeah. At least say, hey, you can buy it right here. You
Yeah,
know? If
yeah.
you're gonna have digital media, you got to have access to it immediately. You know?
Yeah. Well, you know,
Yeah.
so if you want to get it here in the U.S., you know, you can get it direct from us.
Exactly.
But having it available by those big box chains and through the distributor, it's basically for sale worldwide
Yeah.
through those networks.
Right.
So everybody can get it
Just-
that way.
Just by
So,
finding it on your store. Yeah.
yeah. So that's been a real interesting road. So there's a lot of things that we could go into about
So yeah,
just getting records made, or talking about. We definitely need to talk about the bands and then
absolutely. Yes.
kind of what we've learned, trying to get things manufactured and distributed, and
Right.
and the business.
So let's
of what we
start.
do.
What
So
was the
there's a
first
lot.
song? What was the first song you were thinking about starting with?
Okay, so so let's talk about the first band
First band.
that
yes.
that Things From Beyond started working with. Is this amazing doom metal 4-piece out of Mexico City called Satanico Pandemonium.
Right. Yes.
These guys fucking rip, and we'll play a couple songs off of the record we put out. So this was the first vinyl. So getting into that, I had worked with these guys before on a cassette
The
release.
Coffin cassettes.
Yeah, so that is something that's kind of something that sort of built the website or got me into having my own website.
Right.
Was I started through this label out of Poland called Interstellar Smoke Records.
Interstellar Smoke. Okay.
Real cool dude named
Okay.
named Jack that runs that place.
Awesome.
And he's got all kinds of international stuff, all heavy metal, stoner
Nice.
stuff, and there's some good Mexican releases on his label as
Okay,
well.
okay.
So they always deserve a mention here as a great independent record label putting out stuff worldwide.
What was it called again?
Interstellar Smoke Records.
Interstellar Smoke. Okay.
So
Interstellar Smoke Records. Okay.
He saw that I had, just as an art project, I had made these little coffins and was painting stuff on them. And he hit me up. He said, "Hey, can you put a cassette in one of those? Can you fit a tape in
That's
there?" I said,
cool.
"No, not in this one, but I can make you one." Yeah, so I can fashion you one that can fit a tape. He said, "Well, can you do 10 or can you do 20, and we'll do like a tape release."
Nice.
Your art and a custom made coffin, and I'm gonna put some tapes in there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So the first one I did with him was from this band called Ortega, and they're from Chile.
Yeah.
And they're great rock band. Heavy psychedelic rock band. We'll definitely play some of their stuff in further episodes. They're a great band. So I custom made these little coffins and did paintings on the cover of them, and you open them up, and I cut the wood, made these little coffins, and painted each one, and sent them to him, and he put the tapes in there, and then he sold them through his store.
Nice. And then they sell out? Did they?
Yeah, they sold out.
Yeah. It's only 20. It was
it was 20 or 25, and I don't have one anymore because when I was making them, I only had enough material to make like 26, and I screwed one of them up and couldn't send it out, so I had to send him the prototype. To replace it, and I think that one I ended up taking it apart and using it on another tape release that I did coffins. So I ended up doing eventually a few things like that, where I was making little coffins, little art coffins, working with different bands and different little record labels
for different releases.
For different releases. Yeah. The second one I did was with a record label out of Phoenix called Stoner Witch, and she's put out some South American stuff on cassette and on vinyl on Stoner Witch, and I did one of the cassettes, coffin cassette for that. What the fuck is it called? Coven of the Ultra Riff. That's it.
Oh, is that the one?
The one up there. It's called Coven of the Ultra Riff. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the prototype for it. That was with these two bands.
So that came with 2 tapes?
No, that came with just one tape, but there's two bands. It was a split.
Okay.
That was with St. Karloff and Devil's Witches that you were listening to earlier. That band.
Nice.
They did a thing where they like covered each other's songs.
Yeah.
You know, on each side of the tape. So I have that vinyl, and I did the limited cassette box. Yeah. So after that, I did one for Satanico Pandemonium.
Okay.
Where I only did like 5 or 6 of them, I think.
Yeah.
I ordered the tapes from another label. I think it was the one out of South America that puts out a bunch of great stuff on cassette.
Okay.
We'll talk about that label, Rudoteca. We'll talk about them later. But I bought some tapes from him, put them in the coffins, and I did this with the band, and we talked about how they wanted to do it, and so that was kind of my introduction to that band and working with them on a thing.
Right.
And then so that kind of established our relationship. But they're great guys. They're all really creative, and they're really passionate and very driven about their projects.
Absolutely.
And
I mean,
very,
you have to be this kind of music,
you
have to be locked in.
Absolutely. They have that total like DIY punk rock mentality where they're very very much a part of something, but they're very very tight with what they do with their own thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. So worked with them on that cassette, established that relationship with them, and
then that's when you asked them, was like, hey, have you guys thought about releasing who you're gonna release your next album with?
So they had one thing on one release on vinyl from a label out of the Netherlands called DHU, Dark Hedonistic Union Records.
Okay.
They put out their first album on vinyl. It's really good. And the guy from Ortega, the singer from that band, did the artwork for that record.
Right.
So it's this big international effort there. So so they released something and they put it up on streaming, and it was a new record, and I listened to it. It was really good. And I asked them, I said, when's the vinyl coming out? Who's putting this out? They said, well, we don't have a deal yet.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, let me think about that. Shit. So how do you get a record made? How do you do this? So I did a lot of research and talked to a few people about it online. It's during the pandemic, so this is sitting at home doing not doing much. And I found this. I found my pandemic project. Yes. Right. So eventually, after a while, I learned, I read a lot. Okay, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
This this is how you get a record made. This is where you order it from. Here's all the options you have. So, I
Did you work with one? So have you worked with just this one presser this whole
no
time?
the first time I worked with the one company the one time to get this record press, to get the Satanico record press.
Satanico, yeah.
That was just one company. After that, I found a different one to work with, and I've worked with them ever since on everything.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Worked with the bands on getting the thing done after a lot of back and forth about that, and then having to work with the first time with the record company, like with the plant, the pressing plant, the manufacturer.
The manufacturer. Yeah.
That was a learning process, man. Like the format they need everything in, and getting the layout correct so that they could get it printed and cut.
And
that
you
was
got to get
a
it to them
whole thing.
exact way.
And I had to learn all that as I went.
So is there a place to go to help you do that, or you
No,
had to prepare that
I
yourself?
had to do it all myself.
Of course, yeah.
They should have some tutorials or something out there, and they had very clear instructions on what you do. But you just got to really follow the steps. It's very tedious getting it done. But after you do it a couple of times, like, okay, this is how you do it.
Yeah. It's the same process every time.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
It's not that difficult, but it's just the first time you do, you're like, what the fuck is this? But it makes sense after you've done it.
Sure, of course. Who's fucking pressed a record before?
Yeah,
or
right. Who do I know that's done? I don't know. I think our friend Chris, I think PBC Street Gang, they somehow did one.
Yeah, and my band did it.
Very limited.
We
you
did
guys
it a long
did.
time ago too. I don't fucking remember.
So
we sent it off, and it was 5 of us taking care of it.
Yeah, so
but it's like
I had to figure all that out. But so I figured out how to do that, and that's how we got it. Basically, kind of launched the label and the idea of what the label's, the main idea, the focus of it, of international bands. Mexico, South America, just where this great scene is taking place, and getting these guys physical media made,
getting them exposure to the culture. I mean, there's people who want to fucking hear this shit, and we're going to bring them. We're going to bring it to them where they wouldn't otherwise get a chance to hear it. So I mean, how do you find which bands you want to? How did you come across? I know you just gave the story one, but further down the line, how did you come across the other bands?
A lot of these bands I've found, on Instagram.
Right.
Once I got that relationship established with Satanico, that really kind of opened up that network. And a lot of other bands are really curious about that project
because they see that and they're like, "Hey,"
and they're like, "Oh, hey, cool, what are you doing?" And
word of mouth, actually.
That's right. Yeah. So I got a lot of bands hitting me up online, like, "Hey, check us out. We're from Mexico. We heard about what you're doing. We'd like." So I found a lot of stuff that way, but I can't sign everybody.
Well, sure.
I can't.
No, absolutely.
I wish I could. I wish I had a pile of money to put into a big project like that and just get 1 million records pressed, because there's so many amazing
that could put
talented
out good stuff.
The bands out there that in Mexico City alone that could
and I mean, you don't have to do these huge runs. They know their audience. They know exactly who would purchase their albums.
Yeah,
you put out a right size run, you'll sell it.
Yeah. it's a kind of a limited run deal. You don't do 10,000 of these. You do 250, 500, 800.
Their fans will. They're searching for those albums.
Yeah. So what's interesting is that a lot of the fans of the scene in Mexico, they have a big following in Europe.
Yeah.
Because
it's easy for like you told me, it's easy for them to get over.
Yeah, that's another thing, man. So the reason why no one's ever heard here in the U.S. of Satanico Pandemonium or Weedsnake or any band from Mexico is because it's so hard for them to get here to play and just play shows. Go play a house show in Denton.
And
go play a bar in Detroit. Like, they can't fucking do it because
it was already hard before that.
The recent turn of events in American
that was not the thing that started
political history. No, this is not. It was a pain in the ass before that. This has been a pain in the ass for a long time. So that was something that I found out because when I first was like, just brainstorming everything. Oh man, these great bands. We'll bring them up here. We'll shove them in a van and they'll go play in Austin and
we'll just Scooby Doo that thing all the way down.
Hell yeah, because that's what you do here, right?
That's what you're supposed to
do. And bands from Europe do it.
They do it all the time.
But guess fucking what? It's really hard for bands in Mexico to get visas to come here and fucking play.
Yeah.
It's really
That's so weird.
really tough. That was something that I learned doing all this, and we tried. I talked to an immigration lawyer about it, and I had to look up all this stuff on the State Department website, and
it's a deal.
Just didn't work out. So when we get into talking about Weedsnake, we can kind of get into that story because Weedsnake is the band that we tried to bring here in earnest, and that actually tried to follow the process and do the paperwork. So we'll get into that story. But
so you want to start with the Weedsnake?
We'll start with Satanico playing their record. So we'll get into Weedsnake. So so let's listen to the first record of Satanico Pandemonium. This is our first release, and here it is.
So that was all right.
Yeah.
So that's the first band signed on to the label.
Yeah, so that's Satanico Pandemonium.
Satanico Pandemonium.
That was the first record that we put out as Things From
Okay.
Beyond. Was
Okay.
that record. It's awesome.
It's heavy,
You know,
man.
Is that your first time hearing the band, really, right?
No, because I bought this album when you released it,
Okay.
but I haven't listened to it in a while because I have a record player, but it's in the middle of the house, and I need
Right.
to have it in the back of the house so
Yeah.
I can just listen to this stuff without headphones. I like listening. I like using my speakers.
Okay.
I like using my monitors. I like it. I don't want to put on headphones and listen to a record. You know?
Right.
So, but the record player and those speakers are kind of out in the open floor plan of the house.
Okay.
So it's like, all right, well, there's only so many times I can blast those with my girlfriend being there at the house.
Okay.
To listen to it properly.
Okay. Understand? Yeah.
Yes.
You got issues with that. But that's what Doom is for, man, is to help you
right.
through the drama of everyday life, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just play it loud.
Fucking Satanico Pandemonium.
Yes.
So yeah, okay. So Satanico Pandemonium, man. You know, what'd you think? What's some of your observations?
So I can see. I mean, I see why it's considered. It's the heavy doom. It's the name of the band fits with the slow trudge, the sludge of it. You know, it's a pandemonium. You know, there's almost like an alert kind of, like an alarm kind of sound to it.
Yeah.
Because of that, it's doing and it backs to the it's the very, but it keeps you, it loops you in, it locks you into the tone.
Yeah,
You know?
the tone. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's like Doom can be very hypnotic in that way. You know,
that's what I
kind
meant to say,
of lulls
yes.
you into this
Yeah.
head nodding.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people find it so relaxing, even though it's really heavy, extreme music
'cause
in a lot of cases. People find it very kind of soothing because it's such a slow tempo
Right.
and it's heavy, so you get kind of that stoned feeling.
Yeah.
You know, that's why it goes good with the Devil's Lettuce, because it's
That's the rest of
yeah,
the,
yeah,
that's the other half
yeah.
of the culture.
Those psychedelic effects have certain appeal.
Yeah. And I mean, when you got the right music to accompany that,
Yeah.
there can be. I never really got into that. I always understood that
yeah.
it was a thing.
It's a whole thing, man.
I just never knew. I was just like, all right, how does this even work? And I don't think I had the time for it back then because I was broke.
No, you do now though, because you're a grown man. You make your own decisions.
Exactly.
You got
I have ample time to not have time.
yeah, to spend your time not working, but listening to music and smoking marijuana.
And be able to do
getting
both.
it.
Yeah. And not have both of them collide in some catastrophe.
Right.
You know, there's ways to do both. Yeah. Yeah, so I've never had the free time to just sit and just kind of explore it, but
you do now, though.
exactly. And I was like, well,
You need to do that.
if we're going to expose this type of music to new people, that's what you need to be on podcasting about.
So, therefore, Mr. Checkhorn,
Yeah.
to your last point, you
Yes.
need to be doing more drugs
Yes.
and listening to more heavy metal satanic music. That's what I just heard you say.
I think that's what's going to happen.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, I mean, because we're going to bring
It's,
every avenue of doom to the people.
there's a lot.
So
It's not just what we have on the label, but there's all this other stuff.
And
in
that's the point of this-
world of doom.
that's the things from beyond.
That's what we're doing.
Okay. And that's what the theme of this podcast is going to be. We're going to bring you as many of those nooks and crannies
Yeah.
of the doom scene that we can
Yeah.
expose you to.
At least what I can find on vinyl.
Well, and then if people start watching, they'll be like, "Hey, what about this band?"
Oh, everybody's gonna be like, "What about
Yeah.
my favorite
Hey.
shit?"
And you know what? We'll check them out.
We'll
Yeah.
we'll get to it, kid. We'll get your stuff. Because that's the whole. There's the doom thread on Reddit.
Mm-hmm,
You know, someone will be like, recommend me some funeral doom
funeral doom.
with harsh vocals, not melodic vocals, and someone will.
They'll get
chime-
very specific.
Oh, dude, they will. Someone will hit them up with 10 bands that are exactly that, and then someone will be like, "No, man, you forgot to mention these 20 of my favorite bands."
That sounds exactly
Oh,
like
if
the
you
original
like
request.
that, you should check out these 35 bands. So, like, goddamn, No, we're gonna get hit with people like, no, check this out too.
Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
actually
yeah.
really cool because there's all like I don't.
Let's get it out there.
I haven't heard everything. I can't.
Well, we
There's-
got several, let's listen, that's what the mission is.
There you go.
Maybe we'll look at some of those 20 lists. We got fucking time.
Totally.
Let's listen to what you call doom, and we can talk about it once we start doing this live, maybe one day with a live chat.
Because you're going to be so stoned and worshiping Satan that you're going to have to be running down the list of the heaviest stuff in the known universe that you can find.
Well, and then we'll get plenty of recommendations for them, too.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you will. That's part of your new mission.
Okay.
As
yes.
one who has sold his soul.
I am. Okay, so I am the jet check horn. So, okay. That's part of my punishment
You
is
have just signed a contract in blood with the devil.
to listen to get stoned and
get
listen to
stoned,
doom.
To do drugs and listen to doom metal.
All right.
and
Well,
all of its
shit.
all
So
of
fucking
its
be it.
detailed subgenres. Oh yeah, there's
Well,
a
here we
lot
go.
coming, man.
Here we go. And then the goal is to one day, maybe have some of these bands on with us.
Oh, absolutely.
Talk
yeah,
to them
yeah.
live.
No,
we're in the digital era. We're trying to.
Right, we're gonna Zoom call these motherfuckers, man.
Exactly.
We got this shit hooked up with satellites in space, and there's big switchboards being clicked right now. There's supercomputers humming just for our shit. So we're totally gonna get
We're
get
gonna bring 'em
Mexico
in
on the line.
digitally.
We're gonna get those
Digitally.
motherfuckers on the phone.
Yes.
And we are gonna talk to them about what they got going on, in their town, and what the hell are they doing, Why do you doom, sir?
I mean,
And they'll talk to us all about it, and we'll have it right here. It's
think,
gonna be great.
and there's things from beyond. Now this podcast with the full spectrum medium or media that you're trying to introduce. It had to come with a podcast aspect because the music and the discussion behind the music is
That's right.
makes
so,
sense.
Mr. Checkhorn, this is your idea to do the podcast.
Yeah, that's true. Yes,
Right? And
yes.
it turned out to be
Yes.
a good idea. We got it running. I wasn't sure if we were gonna be able to kind of get this production off the ground because we got a. Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, you got to see we got a whole thing
Well,
going
we'll
here.
show them the wide shot as you can
Yeah.
see the mothership.
Yes.
No, that's Joe Rogan. Can't do the mothership.
Does he call it mothership?
Yeah, it's a
Well,
comedy mothership.
We're not gonna.
No.
Even though I
well-
use that term to describe some things beyond stuff, because we got
Yeah,
a
yeah.
UFO as our logo, but this doesn't look like a mothership. This looks
No.
more like some kind of library or
the Library of Doom.
like a Doom research center.
The Doom Research Facility.
Yeah, like it looks a little academic and a little weird. Like I got
It's like-
y'all probably can't see the book titles I have, but I got some weird shit in here. So there's all kinds of weird research that happens here at the
Well, some of the
Library
sometimes
of
the
Doom.
bands kind of cross-reference with some of these
Oh yeah,
historical
yeah. Doom
points that'll come
Doom
up.
bands are some interesting people. They reference some interesting stuff in their lyrics for sure. Oculto on our label, they got some really good lyrics. Those guys.
Okay.
The themes that they cover, they do some really cool stuff. We need to talk about the.
Oh yeah,
Satanico
the
art
artwork.
for sure.
So yeah, so this is the record.
Yeah, okay. It's
This is the first record
So-
that you had to figure out how to get all this done.
Yeah, so just check this out.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah. So here's what we did. All right, so this is the polypack. No. Okay, so I designed the cover, but this was not the original cover
Right.
that I came up with, and
Okay.
this was not the same cover that the band has on the CD and on the digital, the MP3.
Right. It's just for the album. Yeah. Which is kind of cool. It's got its own cover.
Yeah, I wanted to do something different and something kind of bold, something that really stood out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something that was really kind of high contrast. I was thinking about this is like the declaration.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like I wanted to just be as brutal as possible. This is fucking Satanico Pandemonium.
Right.
The spectrophilia. It's fucking heavy and creepy and a little evil, but it's also psychedelic. And then I did.
Well,
the
the back is great.
Back. This
the
was
back
a
is
lot
great.
of.
Well, I can tell you're a Rob Zombie fan.
Oh well, yeah. I love all kinds of like psychedelic art. And
Well, that's
stuff.
what I'm saying. It's just like it's a bad thing. It's just like it's
Yeah, no.
It's fucking great.
It was fun designing this.
Yeah.
This is a really interesting challenge, making it work from someone's going to pick it up and then look at it from like that, and then how to bring in the song titles.
Well, they know they're gonna like it.
It
if
was
I,
a real
if I'm into this heavy stuff, and I turn around and
yeah,
I saw
you see,
that,
that's what. Yeah,
and I'm
how
like,
do you
all right, I'm gonna give this band a shot.
make something look like heavy psychedelic doom.
Yeah.
It was a really fun challenge as an artist.
Well, I mean, come on, dude.
And then I did the poster.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, it comes with stickers, and they're flying around everywhere.
There are
So, yeah, it comes with label stickers and then band stickers.
everybody bought at least a few CDs back in the day just on artwork
Just
alone.
just on artwork.
It's like, all right, this.
Yeah, I've bought records on just on artwork.
I mean, like this band looks cool.
So this
Yeah.
was the poster. This was kind of
Yeah, yeah.
my original idea for a cover was more like this.
Right.
And then the band wanted to do something a
Okay,
little bit
it's the
different, and that's
same-
how we
you're
came
right,
up
right.
with that. But this was
It's a good contrasting poster, though.
yes.
Yeah.
So this is the movie where the band gets his name.
Uh,
Satanico Pandemonium,
she's got
about this nun that gets defiled by the devil.
and she
It's a
is. That
Mexican
is the
film.
perfect capture.
Yeah, and I just
for
thought that was
too.
really dope for the record. The record is just so like, that was
yeah.
a really great picture that would work.
Yeah.
So I, we ended up doing that, and ended up looking pretty good. And then this is the printed inner sleeve. The record slips in here.
I mean, it's simple,
did
but
that,
it's
and
still pretty. The good,
everybody's
it's good
name up
contrast.
here,
Yeah.
and wanted to kind of keep the contrast look, the hard
high
graphic.
contrast. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's that one. So
And then the
as a
record
first-
itself, as you saw, the purple record.
yeah.
It's
So
perfect.
let me tell you about
Yeah.
the fucking disc, man. So
Yeah.
that thing. So when I ordered the records, I ordered purple, fucking
Right.
flat purple records.
Hard purple. Okay.
And what
yeah,
showed up was this translucent, kind of
Yeah,
dark pink
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of fucking thing.
Yeah,
And that's
it's
not what I
fuchsia.
asked for. Was
You wanted solid
just
purple.
solid like mystic purple.
Yeah,
would look
yeah.
really. That was because when I had it all. Oh yeah, fucking purple. That's gonna look really cool because it's psychedelic and kind of.
Yeah. It's a high contrast even with
Yeah,
the pink. Yeah. yeah.
It would look cool, but no, it's just this weird light pink. I mean, it looks good,
It
but
does look good. but
it's not what I fucking wanted. And it's
so
not
it's
what the
supposed to be a
band.
darker purple.
It's supposed to be like straight up like hardcore dark fucking purple.
Okay, like royal. Yeah.
Not transparent, like a solid purple. And this,
Yeah.
we got this translucent middle
That's wild.
dark pink kind of thing. It's just like, what the fuck? So
But it worked.
It-
That's
it
a,
does, no,
yeah,
it looks good. It's
yeah.
just not
when
what
you see it when you guys see it on the overhead. It's a
it's
cool
just,
record.
It's just not what I asked for. And the band was expecting purple as well, and then
Right,
they get
so they-
translucent
yeah.
pink-ish, and they're kind of.
But you're both. At least you were both on that same page. They're like, hey, I wasn't expecting this either.
Eventually, I went down to Mexico City and put together a show with all the bands that at the time I got on the roster,
Yeah.
and got to see them play live along with Sementales Salvajes, Oculto, and Weedsnake. And that was the night that I met Weedsnake, and eventually started a conversation that got them to put their record out.
Right.
with us.
Right.
But seeing Satanico live, I recorded that show with a little floor mic, and we eventually put those shows out on cassette. So
Right,
we've got
right.
those cassettes available as well. We're not going to play them here because my tape player, when you hook it up, it when
To
you play it
the
through
board?
Yeah, whenever you hook it up through the board and try to record it digitally, it makes this loud ass hum
Oh shit.
that I haven't been able to figure out.
Okay.
But when you play it through the stereo, it doesn't do it.
Right. Right.
So we can't listen to any tapes until we figure that out. But when we do, we'll
play
play the tape.
play some of the original tapes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of great Doom that's on cassette
Okay,
too, and
all
that's
right.
kind of part of the physical media is cassettes as
Right,
well.
right,
so
right,
that's kind of a thing that we could get into as part of all this. But so I just wanted to make that point that I've got not just this vinyl, the first one we did, but eventually whenever I did those tapes.
We'll play some of those as well.
Yeah.
And some of the original
Yeah,
releases.
And,
Okay. Cool.
So and
cool.
it was a real treat getting to see Satanico Pandemonium play
So
live
that-
because they're so good. I got some. There's 2 videos of them live on our
That's what I was gonna say.
channel.
Maybe we could. Yeah.
It's up there, so you guys can watch
Take a
those
look.
videos and watch them play live. They're fucking great. next band. The next
Okay.
band that I signed is this band called Sementales Salvajes. In Spanish, it means wild stallions.
Okay. So the Keanu Reeves and
Yeah, the Bill and Ted
Bill and
band.
Ted band.
Yeah, that's where they
So
they love they told me that as teenagers they loved the movie.
they
and-
love the movie.
Yeah. and
Wow.
they just loved that band name because they thought it was really funny. It's
So they found a way to name their band that, but not exactly name
Yeah.
their band that.
yeah, but that's what it means.
That's
So
what it means.
Yeah. So they're a lot different than Satanico Pandemonium. So first
Yeah.
of all, Satanico Pandemonium is from Mexico City.
Okay.
These guys are from Durango,
Which
is
is
farther north.
Farther north. Okay.
and I think it's kind of a college and arts town.
Okay.
It's like a
It's like the Tucson or the Phoenix.
yeah. It might be more like
So
that.
Phoenix.
Yeah, but it's not a huge like megapolis like Mexico City.
Right.
It's
It's manageable, but
Yeah.
it's still a big town.
right.
Yeah.
So this is a power trio, and it's all instrumental stuff. And
Okay.
it's heavy psychedelic stuff, but it's not like 4/4, riff, chorus, repeat. It's not. I mean, it's really dynamic, and they really kind of get really.
So they're
go all
liberal with
over
their
with
time
it.
signatures.
Yeah,
Take liberties.
Yeah, it's kind of got a progressive rock
Okay. Yeah. Prog rock
slant
kind
to
of.
it.
Okay.
in that way, and it's got
Alright.
a lot of experimentation, but it always comes back to kind of this doom riff.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, this Sabbath inspired riff.
It'll journey off and then center back to the. It's kind of like a drop. It'll just drop back into that
Yeah.
riff. Yeah.
Yeah, so this
Wild
is more like
Stallions.
mushroom metal, I would say, because of the trip it takes you on. It goes
Okay,
all over the
right.
place. Like you smoke a blunt and you're gonna sit in one place and you're like cemented, but you eat some shrooms, maybe you go on a little trip.
Yeah.
And this is kind of what's
in
going
your
on
headphones.
with this. Yeah, this is pretty trippy stuff. So it kind of goes on a journey.
So what are we gonna?
I
So
don't
this is the first release. We're gonna listen to
Yeah,
the whole
so
first
we're
A
gonna
side.
listen to the whole A side, man.
Is there a? So what was the? Well, we'll discuss it afterwards. We'll discuss the story behind the song afterwards, because I think this is not the one where. Well, I'll ask you afterwards. Let's play the song first.
All right, so this is Sementales Salvajes.
it again.
Sementales Salvajes.
Sementales Salvajes.
Sementales Salvajes. Wild Stallions.
I'm just gonna call them Wild Stallions from now on. I did not know that.
Yeah, no. So that's what they told me, that they got the name from
From Ted.
Bill and Ted. Yeah,
Straight up
Wild
Bill and
Stallions,
Ted.
straight up. Yeah.
So they're actually Bill and Ted is actually doing. It's creating music to save their humanity. They've influenced.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what you think of their. Their approach, man. You know, like that's the thing about this band, is they're really dynamic. So there's a lot of destruction and a lot of creative growth.
Yeah.
Going on there with the sound, right? It's really psychedelic. So they're creating and destroying.
Well, between the two,
so are they
the
saving
two
the
tracks
world?
that we just heard, I know exactly. They were completely diametrically opposed.
Right.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Huh?
But still within the sound, like a good example of how you described earlier, how Doom spans a wide variety of styles.
Yeah, dude. It's not just like one. There's not one way to do it.
Right.
Yeah, it's more of a. Sometimes it's just a small piece of it. Sometimes it's the whole thing. You know, it's what little aspect of it do you concentrate on? But it's all about. It comes back to a slower, heavy riff.
Right.
That, you know, it brings you in, hypnotizes you. It's very.
So did you know this side was going to be like that when you signed him, or was this record already recorded?
Yeah. So that's how it works with most of the bands.
Okay.
Is that they already have their record recorded.
Right.
And they're looking to get a physical copy put out.
Okay.
They hit me up and they had the digital version was already out.
Right.
I believe. So it was already up on Spotify and stuff, and they just wanted to.
So you could take that's the music, put that on vinyl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they sent me the masters, and they already had it mastered. I didn't have to get this one mastered, but the Satanico record, the one we just listened to.
Sure.
Before that one, I had mastered.
So what's the biggest difference between those two, mastering and not mastering?
So they already had theirs mastered
right
separately. So mastering is a very separate thing than your final mix.
Right.
So you get your final mix, like you have all your levels even, and it's as loud as you want it to be, and you're happy with the mix that's all set.
Right.
So you take that whole thing and then you kind of sweeten it or add depth to all of it. Yeah. The highs and the lows and the mids, like you kind of just...
You can shape them.
You shape...
Yeah.
You shape the tone of the whole deal.
Right.
Not just each individual...
not each individual track.
Yeah. You do that in the mixing.
Right.
So the Satanico record, it had a really good mix and a really solid overall approach. When the guy mixed it down, he did a very good kind of studio mastering of it. Like it sounded really good.
Right.
But when I was listening to it, I was like, okay, for vinyl, you know, we can get someone to master it specifically for vinyl. That's a different process.
Right.
I don't know too much about a lot of the details of it, so I won't even try to get into it. But they adjust the overall tone of the record for the vinyl playback, right? Like there's different mastering for CD. There's different mastering for MP3.
Sure, of course, because it's gonna sound different. One's a compressed file. One's a piece of wax.
That's right. So they're the master that they had, their final mix down just didn't quite have that little.
The correctness for vinyl.
Just a little bit more. They did a little bit something. So I went ahead and had it mastered by the pressing plant. They have a separate
when you
thing
listen to the two,
it's the vinyl master. It's got a little more depth, like the depth kind of spreads out.
Well, and you play it through speakers like this, and you play it in a room.
Play it through a big house where you can hear it.
Yeah.
The depth is there, and the highs have more of a crispness. And a little bit of a sparkle to it. So it added depth and sparkle.
Yeah.
That's basically what mastering will do. They've got a depth dial and a sparkle dial.
Right.
And they just kind of tune in Tokyo right there. And it's, little fairy sprinkles it on the record, and it sounds amazing.
That's what every record, you want
the magic.
that sound like that.
So that's what that did for the the Satanico record.
Okay,
This
okay.
one already
came with it.
already came with
Yeah.
that. They already had a vinyl mastering session where the dude went through and mastered it
For vinyl.
for the vinyl.
So you just had to say, give me that.
Yeah, just give me that, and then I send that to the plant, and they
Take care of it.
press that
Yeah,
motherfucker.
yeah.
They press that shit right down.
Mm.
So this was the second.
So
record.
what's with the artwork? Is there any significance behind the artwork?
Man, this was the band's artwork. They worked with a designer to do this.
That's a cool cover.
It doesn't.
It doesn't stand out, but it is still a cool
It's
cover.
well, it's its own really different thing. It's gotten a lot of compliments.
Yeah.
It's so different than anything you would see in the stoner doom realm. It's more like something you'd see like psych rock or prog rock. Or
That's
something.
what it looks like. It looks like old Fleetwood Mac kind of.
Yeah, right. I didn't really discuss with them what they were going for graphically.
Yeah.
Just there was a couple of early versions of this that we kind of tweaked that I thought didn't quite work, and I worked with the artist to change a couple of things, if I recall.
Right.
The final version that they came up with was really cool. It's really different than anything that you would expect it to be because of what it actually sounds like. The whole thing, it's really fucking.
What's the saying? I feel like I should be playing chess while I listen to that album, and then I put it on, and it's fucking.
The back to
it's a
back's
doom.
really
Yeah,
cool.
it's a great.
It's got kind of like an Art Nouveau.
So wait, so you said they already had that in plan?
Yeah.
Or do you help them with that?
No, I helped. Okay, well, their first draft of the cover was a little bit different than this, and I worked with them to change just a couple things to get it where I thought it was a little bolder.
Yeah.
And then looked more like a record cover.
Right. A little bit more substance to it.
Yeah. So this is what we ended up with, and this is about, I don't know, probably 80% of what it was when they first drafted it, but. Anyway, like that ended up getting a lot of praise. People dig through the rack.
It's a
and they
cool
see
cover.
That, like, what is that?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
really,
well, like we said earlier,
different.
how many several albums purchased on artwork alone?
Yeah.
Several. And I mean, that's one. If I was still buying records, I'd be like, all right, what? All right, can I listen to this? I would put that in my stack.
They're from Durango, but we were able to get them to play in Mexico City.
In Mexico City?
It's
easy for them to travel through Mexico, obviously.
Oh yeah,
right?
it's not like I don't know what it's not like crossing the border or anything, but traveling in Mexico they can do it. But they had to fly from way up north in Durango back down to Mexico.
That's far.
It's really far. It took them a really long time. They had to take a bus to the airport and then fucking get on the plane and then from the airport of Mexico City to where the venue was to where they were going to eventually stay too.
Yeah. Was a trip too?
Yeah, and they got there like just about 30 minutes before the gig was going to start, and they looked all kind of tired. I was like, "Oh shit, hey, what's up?" And they're like, "Oh, what's up, man?
We just got here,
dude. We just got here." That was like a 12-hour journey from leaving.
Why
their
didn't
house.
they come the day before?
I guess it couldn't.
Because they couldn't do the day before. I mean, they came when they came.
When they could get there. Yeah. And
that's
it
crazy.
took them so long to get there, and they were like, "Oh yeah." Then they got up there and played, and they were fucking awesome. For being all travel weird. They got up there and were like, "Okay, fuck it, let's play."
They lived it. That's what they do. So they don't give a fuck about the travel. Yeah. They were like, "How long?"
We got that on tape too. So
nice.
We'll have to play that tape.
Okay.
But one other thing, so we actually have signed as on the label 2 more bands than we can really get to today because we don't have their records yet.
Okay.
So one of them is Tenebra, which is from Durango, but it's 2 of the guys that are in Sementales Salvajes into this band.
Okay, so it's another project.
The drummer and the guitar player, and there's a different bass player, and he sings.
Okay,
and that's more of a post metal kind of deal.
All right,
but it's got doom.
But we don't have those records.
Don't have the record yet.
Okay.
As of today, I know the plant has pressed them.
Right.
And they're done pressing them, but they haven't shipped them yet.
Okay.
So we're waiting on them to get her. So when they do, we'll do a whole thing with that record.
What's the tentative release date? Let's say. Well, can we drop it here on the?
It's gonna be no man. I've got it written down over there. Because there's the date that. Okay, so here's a little inside information about how a label works.
Let's go.
So I will get the my copies of it, but my distributor might not have it set in their schedule to release it for several more weeks.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So where they place the order and then they ship it out.
Yeah, I opened the pre-sale around the same time that I actually make the order from the factory.
Right.
So that we can hopefully have pre-sale money that goes
towards
the,
okay,
goes
smart.
into the getting it made. And then by the time we actually have it, then we
whatever
do
in pre-sales
campaign.
helps the release period.
Yeah, pretty much. So we'll get the pre-sale going, and then we'll put the order in, and it takes a really long time. Like, it takes about a month and a half to actually get your records pressed.
Yeah.
Of course, that's down from 8 months that it took to get the first one done during the pandemic. Now it's only about 1 or 2 months.
Oh, that's pretty good.
But since they actually press them in Europe, it takes a while to ship them too.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the distributor, there has to be like a whole
long
back
fucking
date
wait too.
to kind of like.
There's no
push it.
wait. There's no American pressing.
No, of course there is, but
it's expensive.
It's really hard to get in there.
They won't press your record.
Well, no, it's just a long wait list.
Oh, because everybody wants to use it because it's closer and it's cheaper.
There's several. There's 4 or 5 really good ones.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are they got a long list, so it's gonna be a long fucking time before you get it.
Wow, that's crazy.
So I can get my shit from the Czech Republic faster.
It's like, hey, you can get it.
And at that point, you willing to pay a couple $100 more in shipping
to get it faster,
to get it from Europe.
Yeah.
Faster than you're going to get it here in the U.S.
That's crazy. It should be the other way around.
I know. But I don't know. Maybe it's something we could look into.
We definitely. That's part of the, that's definitely part of the show. Everything that affects this industry as well, because we're a label. We're a doom metal label.
Oh, big deal.
We put out doom metal.
Put out doom metal on vinyl. It's a whole thing.
On vinyl. Okay. Anyway. All right. So. So we're going to, we just want to make sure people are paying attention. So that's what we're going to do for you. That's what we're going to do for you lovely people out there. We're going to bring you the heaviest of the heaviest, the doomiest of the doom, the stoners of the rock. We're going to Alpha Centauri. Right? Is that space?
It's the heavy sounds from the International Underground, man. We're gonna play all kinds of stuff.
So we hope you want to join us along and fucking come check it out, because we know you fans of this music are out there. Here we are. We're gonna play it for you, and we want you to join us. That
sounds good. That's
okay.
right.
So what are we playing next?
Okay. Let's play the next thing.
Okay.
So let me get it out here real quick.
I gotta stop hitting the microphone with my beer.
Oh yeah.
That would probably help people's.
Is that what I'm hearing over there?
Apologies to the headphone
noise?
users. Yes, that's what it is. The beer that hopefully will sponsor us one day, that we drink on the show regularly.
Okay, so this is Oculto. So this is a really bad
third band.
Yeah, it's
third band signed. Okay.
Band. This is the first vinyl we have of theirs. We just put out another one. I'll get to that in a sec. Of Oculto. So this was their first vinyl, not their first album. This was probably I think this was their 3rd or 4th album overall as a band.
Yeah.
They put out a cassette. They had some CDs. This was their first vinyl.
Was this one of the first cassettes you put out too?
No, I didn't put this cassette out.
Okay, but they
put out a cassette version of this.
So was the cassette thing already happening, or did you kind of get on the first wave of the cassette?
So the cassettes had kind of been going on, and that was sort of when I saw that people were still doing these. I was like, "That's cool. It's doing cassettes. That's fun."
And you thought about the coffin display.
That's when I got into the coffin thing.
Okay. How were they being sold before? Just in a cassette tape?
Without coffins, yeah.
Just like your classic,
your
classic cassette tape case. Yeah.
But you got to make it more interesting.
Well, yeah, that's what the coffin did. Yeah.
So no, but I didn't do a coffin release for Oculto, but I do have a cassette of theirs from the live show in Mexico.
Okay.
We've got that. We'll do those.
The one that they traveled for and they showed up 30 minutes before.
No, that was Sementales.
That was Sementales. It was traveled. They were in Mexico City.
Yeah,
Oculto.
So these guys are from Mexico City. So they're a 2-piece.
Okay.
Bass and drums, the bass when he plays live, he's got a huge stack that he plays from, and it's like
fuzzed out,
super fuzz. It's really loud.
Yeah.
He plays with a lot of distortion and effects. And this was the little poster that we did just the logo.
Nice. That's very. It's like a.
It's very
the purple and the green.
heavy psychedelic, man.
Yeah. I mean, it works under a red light too,
And,
right, or a black light.
It's got the lyrics and the.
I'm sure that looks good under a black light too.
Yeah, it might be kind of tripped out looking.
What is that? Is that just a sticker?
This is just a sticker.
Oh, okay.
They all come with stickers.
Absolutely.
Every Things from Beyond product comes with a sticker, man. Yeah, there's always a little something, a little prize in the pack for you. 2-piece, bass and drums. This is really heavy.
Okay.
Psychedelic occult themes. They sing about space and mind journeys and the heaviness of the world and
So would you
death
say, all right,
and dancing with death and like psychedelic death trips? It's
from the
this
two
band's heavy as fuck. Man.
okay, from the two aspects we saw from the last band, right? Which side, like?
Oh, they're more aligned with Satanico Pandemonium.
Okay.
In the kind of where they sit in the and how things are arranged in Doom. Yeah,
Doom.
there you go. How it would be arranged in like the wall of Doom. They're in the heavy, very metal part of Doom.
Okay.
As opposed to like a stoner rock, which is more of the Caius influence stuff.
Right,
we'll kind of get into that when we do our history of Doom thing.
Yeah.
Caius is a very influential. There's a whole like quarter of Doom that's
dedicated to Caius.
Part of like of what Caius kind of spawned.
Okay.
And Sementales Salvajes is more in that area, but these guys are still more in like that evil Black Sabbath Electric Wizard area. But there's no guitar; it's just bass. So the bass is like.
Well, he's riffing like a guitar. Yeah.
So,
but I could see that because when I grew up, playing in Fort Worth, playing in punk bands, there were several two-man bands where it was either guitar, but the guitar had its mids all the way up, its bass all the way up, so it kind of it played bass and rhythm at the same time with the different strings. So, and you could do the same thing with bass. It just depends on what range you want to be in. Yeah. So I can totally hear it. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll listen to one song from this record, and we'll talk a little bit about their second
All right.
record.
Cool. Yeah, I want to hear about how this record came together. So, who did we just listened to? Oculto.
Yeah, we just listened to Oculto.
Yeah.
So Oculto is that two-piece from Mexico City, bass and drums. The name of that record is Penumbra. It's in reference to COVID-19. That's when they recorded it. It was during the pandemic.
Okay.
Like the whole world has this, they were thinking about the virus itself and the corona that it had.
Yeah.
The
Penumbra.
picture. That's what they were
yeah.
thinking about, was that when they named the record that was what they, that the record was a artistic reaction and a very kind of angry response and a cursing at the COVID situation in the world.
The thing they just lived through for a full 2 years.
Right, yeah. They were enduring that and responded to it artistically in a very creative way and in a very heavy way. It was very psychedelic and
I mean, if you think about it,
macabre. And
when we were teenagers, right, in the 90s, we were like, did the world stop? Right? Did we ever, other than 9/11, like, were we forced to stay indoors for a year almost?
No, nothing like that ever. Only
there was a generation that was forced to stay indoors because they thought everybody was going to be sick.
That never happened before, right? So no one was ready for that shit.
Not to them. It had happened before in human history, but not. So I can see how artists are like, this is fucking for real. This is some serious shit.
Yeah, it's really interesting the way that these bands responded to that, reacted to that artistically, creatively. Hell of a thing to be able to go in to a studio during the pandemic when everything's fucking shut down. Must have been a major pain in the ass.
Right.
And then write songs, good songs, interesting, dynamic songs with something to say. Good music with a creative message about the state of the world at that time.
Right. When it's literally shutting you, like it's like you don't get to.
A hell of a thing.
You're not allowed to go out and see it at this moment.
Yeah. But I'm happy those guys are able to get it done and get it recorded. And they contacted me and said, "Hey, we have a new record. We have it on CD and we've got it on streaming, but no one's
trying to
put it on vinyl."
Yeah.
And they saw done Satanico and had announced
Sementales
and. I was like, okay, let me check these guys out. Listen to it. This really unique approach to doom metal, what they're doing, with just the bass and the drums. So there's no guitar. It's all on the low fuzz end.
Yeah.
And the way that he plays, he'll play a lot of mid-range, a lot of mid-tones, and he'll kind of go high for a few measures. And so he really makes the most of that instrument. And making that range of tone that it can do.
Right.
It's a really creative approach to, he's not just going dum dum dum. It's really creative approach to what they're doing.
Well, he's also the bass player and lead guitar player.
Yeah.
He's just using the lower register of the guitar.
The rhythm section and the lead section.
Exactly.
And the drums have this kind of tribal, he's not just in the pocket. He's not just keeping a backbeat. Like there's something.
No, he's allowed to explore
else going on with the percussion that's very upfront.
Well,
it's very loud in your face, and when the guitar's not there, you stop thinking about the guitar because it's like, hold on, who said the guitar ever had to be there to begin with? If you can bring these instruments forward and fill that space that the guitar is normally in, and still create something that's heavy and kind of groovy and catchy, but still really experimental and
well, that's another thing
it's really cool.
That's another thing we're gonna explore with this podcast too: the search for tone, and how you described to me a couple days ago that when you're just listening to your guitar tone by itself, it doesn't sound like the tone you hear in the final mix because you don't have your bass and drum, but that's the sound you want to hear when you're playing it. But you have to get used to not hearing that. You have to get used to your one part that you're going to fill in with the bass and the drum.
Yeah.
I used to always think, it's like I used to love the buzzsaw of that, but you only get the buzzsaw from the bass that's buzzing underneath your higher ends.
It all works together.
Yeah.
What's the, I'm going to sound with the orchestration, the
arrangement,
the layering, the coming together of the instruments, the different instruments and creating one thing out of it.
Right.
And has this effect. You know, it's a really interesting creative area, you know.
I mean, yeah, that was the chase for tone. And when I played in the one band I played in, I've only played in one band. I played in two bands, but the chase for tone was everything. It was just like we wanted to make sure that I wanted to make sure my guitar sounded like I needed it to sound, and it's like, how do I keep doing that as repeatably as possible live? And it's just like they gave you you had every instrument, every fucking pedal, object that you could try to do it, but there was never any like, this is exactly how you do it. And that's what I appreciate about Doom is like each one of these guys finds find that tone.
They find that tone and their own way of doing it, their own spin on it.
Yeah.
Their own take.
Absolutely.
Making it their own thing. Their own signature style of
and it comes through. It comes through.
Yeah, it comes through.
You can tell that it's like, all right, we all know what swimming pool we're swimming in. This is the Adult Swim. And we are here doing the Doom hours. And you can tell that they appreciate the sound.
Let's talk about their second record.
Okay. Yeah, because this is the next track we're going to play.
Yeah, the next track is going to be off of
the second record.
This record. Okay, so there it is with the hype sticker. So whenever you see one of our amazing products in the store, it's going to have the hype sticker on it.
To tell you where it's from, the company.
So here's something I learned about being a record label owner.
Yeah.
The barcode. If you want your stuff to be on the rack at American markets, American record stores, you have to have a fucking UPC.
Yeah.
So there's ways to get a UPC. The record manufacturer, the vinyl manufacturing plant, can give you one.
Right.
You can pay them for one.
And they'll include it with the sticker.
It's really weird about how like UPCs, there's like a big pre-approved database that they're running from
some numbers
that one company controls, it's a whole thing.
It's just like MAC addresses for your each device has an individual MAC address.
Yeah.
You can purchase your first 6 numbers of it to make sure your company's identified with that MAC address.
Okay. Well,
so I can see the same thing with the UPCs.
It's a pre-made code that you can get, and
there's only so many of them.
Well, yeah, there's only so many, but a lot of companies have already bought like groups of UPCs, and you can just say, if you're putting out something through them, you can say, give me a UPC.
Gotcha.
So the record, the manufacturer can give you one, but I get my UPC numbers through the distributor.
Right.
Because they're the only one that fucking needs them is them, so that they can then distribute it into Amazon, Barnes and Noble.
Right. And it lets you know, each one tells you where it went to.
But let's say you have a UPC, but you don't print it out and put it on your product.
Right.
They will print it out and put it on your product for you, but they will charge you for that.
Of course they will.
So when I sent them the first round of a lot of stuff that I didn't, I didn't print out the UPCs and put it on the hype sticker.
Right.
I was just like, okay, they'll do that.
It was just a sticker, and
And I saw what they would charge me for it. Like, well, that sucks, but I was trying to figure out, okay, how do I get a bunch of stickers printed with the UPC?
It's worth it to have them do it.
So it basically, it was like, okay, they can put the UPC on. But after I saw that, and then when I figured out, okay, I can get a UPC number, there's a website where I can put in my UPC code and get the actual image of the barcode.
Right.
That's going to be that they were going to print out and put on.
That they were going to do anyway.
Yeah. So if I figured out how to do it myself.
Oh, okay, cool.
Like I use the number that they give me, that they charge me for anyway, the distributor.
Right.
And then I go get my own UPC number or my own UPC image.
And you add it to that file?
This thing, yeah. I can go to a website, put the number in, and it gives me this barcode, the actual barcode.
And they just you can send them.
And then I put that.
Oh, you put it on.
I put it on the hype sticker.
How do you put it on the hype sticker?
It's
its own sticker?
Yeah, it's just through graphic design.
Oh,
I get a little. Yeah. I'm sorry, this is my face. I can get a little. This thing is like trying to fucking fight me.
Well, you can.
Yeah, I need
loosen it from there.
I need to figure this out. I haven't spent much time with this. See, it's like.
Well, tighten it. Tighten it will stop it from. Yeah, tighten it, and it'll go exactly. It'll stay where you want it to go.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
I think I got it.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was going into detail about the UPC
UPC.
situation.
So
Okay, so yeah,
you
the
figured out a way to print it on
I
yourself.
finally figured out I can get the barcode made myself. I
Yeah.
didn't have to pay the distributor to print out the barcode and slap it on the record itself or on the back here I figured out how to get the number
right up front.
right here on my hype sticker, and I print these myself.
Okay.
This is the same thing I use to do the mailers. It's the same label.
That's
It's
much easier for them to
So
scan.
I make it
just-
big and clear,
yeah,
and
just scan it, buy it right here.
Right.
So when they scan it at the record store,
Yeah,
what does it
that's it.
do? What does it do for you?
they scan this at the record store. It says that they, sold it. That
Right.
they keep track of it that way. They do the inventory this way, and they keep track of sales that way, and they order it through the distributor via the UPC.
Right.
So the distributor uses that.
So, it
So that's
goes
why
from
they
the-
fucking
from
needed it.
distribute all the way to the.
Yeah.
That's how it's referred through that code.
That's right. Yeah, through
Yeah.
the UPC code.
Yeah.
So that was something I had to learn about UPC codes and get them made.
After using them forever.
Yeah. Right after they're everywhere in the world, like fuck it. But I learned how to.
I just
point
self-checked
of
out
them.
with this fucking thing at the 7-Eleven. I just
See?
said, scan that. I know
Someone
what this
designed
is.
that can and have had to consider what they were going to do with that code, and someone at the company had to go get that number,
Yeah.
and it's a whole thing.
And make sure it was the same number on all these cans.
That's right.
So I could check out with it at a checklist 7-Eleven.
Okay, so this is
All
this is Oculto's second
Second.
vinyl with us. This is our most recent release. We just put this out
24?
in 24, in late
Okay.
24. Yeah,
Okay.
this is the last thing. We have 2 more records down the pipe right now, but
Right.
we don't have that vinyl yet.
Okay.
We've got we have those 2 other things coming, so we'll get into that later. But this is the last thing that we just pressed was Oculto, so I wanted to talk about this. So this is really cool, man. So
Wait,
It-
is that the
that's the
top?
cover. Yeah. What do you think of the cover?
That's the top. That's pretty fucking. I mean,
Yeah.
that's. Wait,
Yeah.
is that a flame baby being birthed?
Yeah, dude, that baby
Is
is
the flame
being,
baby still connected?
There's something up with that. The kid's got thorns,
It looks like it's on fire.
and there's a goat and a witch lady, and there's
course
little
it's a goat.
demons flying around, and
Here, let's show the people.
oh yeah,
Get in
TikTok.
there.
Yeah,
Show the flame
we'll have
baby.
we'll have to put a
Yeah, we'll do an
we'll
overlay.
put the
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
put this up so they can see the
Fade in.
detail. But I just thought that was such a wild cover. It's
So did
I
they
don't
already?
know.
Did they? Was this one?
yeah,
was
one of
this
their
the cover that they already
artists.
had?
Yeah, they have
Okay.
an artist
So you
friend
didn't have to. There
who
was
did this,
no-
who had a really great idea,
like,
and
this is what we want. What did
Yeah.
you think of it when you first saw it?
oh, I thought it was awesome.
Yeah,
You're like, oh yeah, that's excellent. Illustrated cover, and there's just
Looks like a tapestry.
all this going on,
Yeah.
and it's just so cheeky, and it's just so doom. It's excellent. I love it.
I mean, that's exactly what it's. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Are those goblins? Like,
Oh, they're little
Little dragons.
goblin,
Yeah,
dragon,
yeah.
demon guys that are somehow brought to the world with the baby being, unfortunately.
it's
But the
just
baby's got thorns coming out of it, and it looks like it might be like a stitched idol with guts. And there's a cauldron, and
He's
it's just-
definitely
there's
going into the
there's
cauldron.
a lot. Oh yeah, there's
He's
a
going
lot.
into the cauldron.
There's a lot
he's
going
about to
on
get
there,
cooked.
man. That's some serious
Alright,
shit.
so-
So let me show you this record.
Yeah, yeah. Is
Before we
this
put-
the? Wait, is this another color record?
Yeah. So okay.
So how'd the color come out on this one?
So when it came to the vinyl on this one, to actually what we were going to do, so getting colored records made is really expensive.
Right.
Or it's a lot more expensive. Records are expensive as shit, but it's several dollars more per item per
Sure,
unit to
absolutely.
get a colored vinyl
Instead of just
pressed.
black. Yeah.
Other than black is cheap. You can get a black record pressed depending on how many you get made for $8-9.
Right. Right.
But a colored record will cost you $12
God
to
damn.
$13.
Wow. So like a third more. A third
It's a lot more, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why, people, it'll say
You're
the
only
red-
getting so many.
yeah.
There's a limited run.
The red version is, but it's $8 more. Well, that's
Yeah.
why, 'cause the fucking factory. So I found out that you can get a colored record pressed at the same price as black,
Okay.
but they use scrap from the flashing, whenever they press the record, they put the puck in and they press it down. And there's a bunch of stuff that oozes out the side.
Yeah.
They cut all that off, but they recycle that.
And that's where they get the colors from.
So the color you get is called Eco Mix because it saves the planet by not throwing it away, by recycling, and that nice and that cute.
Okay. Let's see.
But
This is Eco Mix.
You can't control
What it looks like.
the color at all.
They just use.
And it's not one solid color.
Okay.
I think if they happen to have a bunch of flash from one color,
And then they can.
and they
make
maybe
that color. Yeah.
they can do one color, but
Right.
it's almost always like just a. You ever taken like different bubble gum and mashed it together? You know what I'm talking about? All right, so if we can't. This is the.
All right. Let's see it. Let's see it now.
Yeah, here it is.
Oh, that's actually pretty cool. That's fucking kind of dope,
Isn't that
actually.
cool?
That's a good idea. So wait,
That's
how did you find
really
out
wild.
about? How did you find out about
It was
that?
on the website when I was going to order the records. I looked. I was like, "Oh, Eco Mix. What's that about?"
Did they show that as an example?
No, the example they had was like this really cool, like jade green
Yeah,
with a little
sure.
cloud in it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was like, "Oh, that's awesome! Is that what it's gonna look like?" And then
There.
the little disclaimers: "There's no guarantee. What the fuck? This shit is gonna look like." This is
we
made.
just happen to have this.
We sweep this off the floor and then melt it down into your record.
Wow.
And this is what you get.
So it's a overall less expensive press
It
as
is.
well.
So you can get a colored record,
Yeah.
and each one of these is different. Like some of them have more black than red.
Of course, because it's random.
It's just
I think that's amazing.
a wild mash of stuff. It's got this like jewel blue up in there. And
Each record is going to be different.
Each one's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so that was kind of the trade-off is that I can get these made for the same price as black,
Yeah.
and you have no control of the color, but you get something wild like this.
With each one.
So I presented the idea to the band,
Yeah.
and they were, they had a lot of questions like, well, can we control the color? Because we would maybe want, a marbled blue or black. It's like, no, you
I
really,
just literally
it's
just said.
it's whatever random leftovers. I mean, who knows what this stuff is originally from?
Exactly. But it's all record
Yeah,
material.
it
though.
is. It's all
Yes.
vinyl. It's all
It's
cut
the
from
shavings.
other pressings.
Yeah,
There's
yeah, yeah.
this orange streaky stuff in there.
It's
Who
from an
knows what
orange-
that could have
it's from
been?
an
It could have been
orange
like Lionel Richie's greatest hits or something, and the leftovers got pressed into this
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
evil doom metal album. Isn't that great?
So what did they think once they saw it? Did they love it?
Oh yeah, they were pretty happy with it.
When
yeah,
it turned out, yeah.
they really were. They're like, oh, that's because this is a really unique. There's
That's-
no other record out
that's
there in
gonna
the
look
world
like
that
that.
looks like this.
No. And you have how many ever different versions of it too?
Well,
What was
let's
it,
see,
200?
we pressed 250 of these.
You have 200, then they're completely different. Were they all? Were there ones on completely different color spectrums too?
No, they were all
Kinda like that.
still kind of in this. This looks kind of like a milkshake with a bunch of fruit bits in it. Is sort of like, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
weird with like coal ash.
Yeah, yeah.
But they all basically have this color scheme, but some of them have bigger blobs of different stuff, and some of them are more splatter looking.
Yeah.
But they. No one record looks just the same as the other one.
That's
they're
pretty cool.
They're all really different looking with the different chunks of flash that they threw in there. To
Well,
make
that's
the
cool
puck
that they
to
were
press
happy
this
with
thing.
it at least.
The band liked
Really
it.
loved
Yeah,
it, yeah.
the band was happy
Something
with it.
fucking unique, man. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So wait,
That's pretty dope.
is there? Oh, okay, that's the actual. That's the.
Yeah,
That's the side. Is there a B? So the B side.
that's B
all
side.
different.
This
Yeah,
is the A side with the.
That's pretty cool. How did you have them put the sticker on the backside? Things from Beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's you do
didn't
all
have to-
that. You do all that whenever you fill out the template
Okay.
to send in the thing to make the
What
put it together, make your order.
What made you put the sticker on the backside instead of the B side information? Is that how other record companies release?
Yeah, I'd seen a few other people that had done that had
Yeah,
put their
yeah.
logo on the B side. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Why not?
Why not?
It's can you not remember it from the other side?
Yeah, other than that, you gotta.
Do you need information on both sides?
Right. It's just a way of having fun with the art.
Yeah, no, it
'Cause
makes sense.
That's the thing about the record, right? That comes back to the whole point. It's a big. This thing's 12 inches
Yeah,
wide. It's a
yeah,
big
yeah.
12-inch,
Yeah.
big, colorful, fun.
Everybody wants their physical
thing.
media back.
Right. So let's
People
have
are
a
worried about their DVD
a
collections.
crazy, colorful cover and a weird, wild-looking record and with a big logo on it. It's just it's
When did
fun. It's totally
So we were alive
You know.
for the death and the revival of Vinyl.
Yeah,
right?
right. We were.
We were
We
young
are.
men. We were young boys when Vinyl died. But then we were teenagers as it was underground resurfacing, and now it's back. Like, you have to have a vinyl collection. You know what I'm saying? If you're cool, you have a vinyl collection.
I must be pretty cool then. 'Cause
That's what I'm saying. I'm not
Yeah.
cool. I don't have
you
a
only
huge
have
vinyl
the
collection.
records I sold you.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm like, oh, all right, I need these records. Wait.
That was Oculto. That was their second album.
Yes.
Eco Mix. Mal de Ojo means evil eye.
I was gonna say, what does that Mal de Ojo means?
Yeah.
Evil eye. Okay.
So this record, man, they recorded it on actual tape, actual magnetic tape in the studio,
Right.
as opposed to
It's
digital
not the
tracking.
DAT or
Yeah.
what is it? DAT tape or whatever.
I'm not sure. Yeah, digital hard drive or whatever. But rather than do it that way, they recorded it on magnetic tape.
Nice.
So it's
Nice.
got this really cool,
High fidelity.
warm tape
Right.
sound to it. You know,
Yeah.
it's really cool, and that's a really cool effect with this genre, with this style, the warm tape sound, the warm analog
You
sound.
almost
you
have
know?
to do that, right?
The tone of the genre, the tone of those tube amps really works well with that analog sound with
It
tape.
almost requires it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
That's what.
It's
they
really
want.
unique.
Yeah,
album,
they
you
want
know,
their
with that.
fans demand that. Not demand that. Their fans kind of want that, and they're like, all right, we're into that too as a band. So it's a
Yeah.
good. You can tell who likes that fidelity in their sound.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. huh?
Yeah. Okay, so so we talked about how the record was pressed with the look.
Yeah, the Eco Mix vinyl.
Yeah. So how was it received?
Well, I mean, the band was really happy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like, this is because they, we talked a lot about it. There's a lot of back and forth with, okay, we can do this Eco Mix, but we can't control the color, so they just, well, can you do this color? Can you maybe try this? Like, this is
Not with
it
this.
works one way, just
Yeah.
not with this. They have eco variants of other colors that you can choose,
Right.
but of course they charge more for that. You want Eco Mix green or Eco Mix red?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's recovered flashing, but it's
all
more of the
just
same color.
Yeah.
And they will.
So they figured out how to separate the
yeah.
that.
Yeah, but they'll
But it's
fucking
still
charge you for that shit. So
Yeah.
the album that we don't have the record yet, the vinyl's not here yet, but for Tenebra, that is actually it's eco vinyl, but it's we controlled the color, so it's specific to that color.
Right.
So it's going to be Eco Mix recovered vinyl, but it's not going to be like the
It's an
random
actual color.
It's going to be a picked color
Yeah.
that they controlled.
Yeah.
So that's
But it's still going to have variants.
it's going to have that kind of cloudy
Yeah.
splatter effect to it because there's going to be different shades
Okay.
of that color kind of in there. It's going to
Now,
look
was
really
this
interesting.
was this record company? Does every presser offer something like this, or
I
this
think
one
they
particular
do.
one?
Yeah,
was,
they offer an Eco Mix
Okay.
variant. This company just started doing it,
Okay.
but I've seen it out
They've
there.
all
before.
figured out
It's-
how to
yeah.
use their scraps.
Yeah, exactly. Use the scraps, man. Reuse that shit. Fucking press another
Yeah.
record with that. You know,
Especially if
charge
it
customers.
works. It works that you
Yeah.
can recycle that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the
Yeah.
same thing. You just repress it again one
Yeah,
more time.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah. Okay. So wait. When was this? So when was this record released?
This just came out this fall.
Okay. So this was 24.
Yeah, 24. This is the last one we did. So this is pretty recent. Like I said, we've got two more down the pipe. They're just not here yet.
So now this is the third album released on the label. So is it at this point? Is it getting
No,
easier
this
to
was
figure this out?
this was like our fifth.
Actually, no, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We skipped.
So
we're
it's
skipping
our
around.
third band, but our fifth record.
And by
Yeah.
that point, by the fifth record, is it like old hat, or is it still some things?
Well, yeah. So up to this point, I've learned a lot about formatting everything, all the audio, and then doing the layout, like how that has to be
Right.
set
Right.
in a certain type, and everything that has to be a certain way. That's all pretty easy to do now.
Right.
Yeah. It's just there's a lot of steps, but I know how to do them all.
Sure.
So I've learned how to
By
do
the fifth
that.
album. Yeah.
Set it all up, and then go in and set it up with the distributor. There's a certain thing I've got to do to go in there, and how many copies they're going to buy, and all that
Right,
stuff.
right.
And, every record I've got to do that. I've got to send things to the manufacturer, and then send things to the distributor, and then get things set up on our website,
Right.
the website on how they're, and then social media to announce the release. So there's all of that has become kind of like, okay, I know what to do
On each
on
release.
each of these
Yeah,
steps.
yeah.
I know how to do it, as well as we've got a friendly heavy metal magazine that works with us that puts out that
That'll do
posts
reviews.
online. Yeah, well, they do full album streams
Oh, okay.
of our stuff.
Yeah.
and they talk about the vinyl release.
What is it called? What's the name of
That's
that?
Decibel Magazine.
Decibel Magazine.
So
Okay.
everybody, all of our bands, every release we've done so far has some write-up or mention.
Okay.
From
with
Decibel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you should. Right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
gotta
They're one of the only
the word out.
They're the only people that will work with us. Every time I put a record out, man, I send the press kit out. I put a little press kit together. I send it out to everybody in town that
writes.
that pays attention to doom metal,
Yeah.
that writes, that puts out a blog or something. And Decibel's the only one that's ever written back and said, "Yeah, this is interesting. We'll do this."
Well, I mean, sometimes all
So-
you need is one.
That's who I got.
What are these other people doing?
Other stuff, I don't know. Yeah, there's
They're like, I'm a doom writer,
just gotta
but
keep
I don't want to
keep
write
hitting
about
them
your
up.
doom.
Yeah, not this doom. No, There's a lot of gatekeepers out there with this
Well,
stuff,
just
man,
like anything.
you know?
That's any. Yeah,
Just like
that's the
anything.
music industry, folks.
Right on, man. So
This one hasn't been updated to 2024 gatekeeping standards or 2025 gatekeeping standards. It's still back in the 2010 gatekeeping. Gatekeeping is still real. So you're sending out press kits, not getting a lot of feedback or not getting a lot of write-ups.
yeah,
But
only
Decibel records.
Decibel magazine.
Decibel Magazine, check them out.
Puts us out. They
check 'em
they
out.
put our stuff out there on their online version,
And you can stream
Yeah,
most of these albums
most
on
of these
there.
albums are there to stream.
Yeah.
All the stuff. All the bands have their own pages. It's all on Spotify.
Right.
You can hear this stuff without getting the record,
Sure,
but
sure,
we want
sure.
you to get the record
Get
and
the record.
enjoy the.
Everyone who wants the record is going to get the
Yeah,
record
they need to get that record.
because that's
and
what these bands are about,
Yeah.
vinyl, putting out vinyl.
putting
yeah.
out physical media.
Yeah. Okay.
Fans connect with it. It's, good stuff.
So, fifth record.
All right.
Wait.
So
Yes.
if that's
we-
Oculto. So
Okay.
what we haven't talked about Weedsnake yet.
Okay,
We need to talk
so
about Weedsnake.
That's
So
going to
let me
be
get this stuff
our.
out.
So we're about to introduce everyone to the legendary Weedsnake.
So this is a whole thing with Weedsnake. I love these guys. So I met Weedsnake when went down to Mexico City in October of 22.
Yeah.
For the show that we did.
Okay, so
like the label show.
Right.
They weren't. I hadn't heard them. They weren't with us yet. I hadn't signed them yet.
Oh, so
effectively.
you hadn't, but they were going to be part of the show.
Yeah, they were going to be part of the show. The other bands all were like, "Oh, Weedsnake's got to play."
Okay, they were excited about that.
So so that was my first time hearing them, and they're awesome.
Yeah,
really cool stuff. Sludge metal, heavy psychedelic, bluesy, doomy, just really cool. And they've been around a long time. They've been doing.
Well, anytime the local bands are excited to see
another
local band,
they're like, you got to get Weedsnake to. We all want to open for Weedsnake on this show. And this is our show. Like, okay, cool.
Right.
Yeah, well,
let's get them in here.
Book them totally. Yeah, I'm down. I'm ready to hear them. So, this is their first album with this vocalist.
Okay.
He's been in the band for a couple of years, but this is their first album with him. They had another singer previous to this. So they've got some CDs out and a bunch of digital albums on other labels, but this was their first one with us and their first one with this singer.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's a cover there.
And this is I think this is the album where I came on board.
That's right.
Where I was like,
that's right. Yeah. So we should talk about that. Totally.
Yeah. Okay. So I am Jet Check Horn. And the professor here and I have been friends for, 25 years now?
Since 99, since 2000?
2099.
Yeah,
I would say that first class with, what's her name?
With Jen Evans?
Jen Evans.
Yeah, so that would have been 98, 99, yeah.
Yeah. So that's when, we've been friends since then. We both joined an organization that allowed us to shoot guns, and then
that's like we joined some weird militia or something.
I know. We were both. Like do you care sharing that?
Oh no, that's fine. No, yeah. Let's so we met in college in film school,
right?
And we did a lot of projects together in different classes, and that's how we became friends. But then after graduation
and not telling each other at all.
We ran into each other at a party and we discovered that we had both independently joined the Army.
Yeah, because we didn't know what the fuck else.
We didn't know what the hell to do after film school. Like, what the fuck? And the world was going to shit, so we thought we'd jump in on that.
And it's like, might as well. Hey, they need more people. And I'm like, wait a minute.
So off we went, and we ran into each other at this party in Denton, which was a college town where we went to school.
Yeah,
and we're just kind of like, really? You too? Like, holy shit.
We were going to do that.
Really wild. This is a crazy coincidence. So the whole time we were we never ran into each other, even though we were both deployed to the same country and near each other.
Yeah, not far.
Where our FOBs were, but we never, got together and hung out.
There was no, how could I?
There's no.
How could I have been
no social time?
I mean, I'm sure it happened, but I wasn't high ranked enough to.
Yeah, right. To go visit your buddies
or figure out where it's going to happen. Yeah,
no, it wasn't going to work.
Officers do that all the time, but they're kind of supposed to do that.
Yeah, we couldn't make that work, so we never hung out while we were in. But as soon as we got out, we both moved back to this area.
To Dallas. I was in Fort Worth for a while.
Yeah, you were in Fort Worth, and then Flower Mound. I was in Denton for a while, and been back. And we've been kind of living all around.
And then I went back to school in Denton.
That's right.
For a while.
While I was also going back to school.
Yeah.
In Denton. So we kind of reconnected there and started doing a bunch of creative stuff.
Yeah. You were shooting stuff.
Oh,
you were doing your best George Lucas.
Yeah, every weird project I've ever tried to pull off.
Yeah.
I've got Jet Checkhorn to somehow come in and assist me with that
however
in some way, however he could. And
that's true.
I've always appreciated that this guy will come in and help me out, try to get something crazy done.
Yeah. Even if I don't see the vision, I'm like, all right, do I need to hold something up or? That's fucking. We're making that star wall where we poke.
Poking all the holes in that
all
thing.
Right, I can do that.
That's the ship from it. Is right there on top of the Calvin and Hobbes book. Yeah, that's the ship from that. And this is the helmet that we were going to use. So we used it in the commercial for this.
Oh yeah,
that's the helmet.
We definitely should play the commercial.
Sure. We should we'll do a whole episode about how fun it was to make that commercial. And we all need to watch our commercial.
Yes, we're gonna play it. No, it's gonna be included during this first podcast.
Okay.
Yes.
When Jet found out that I was working on this record label,
Right.
he thought it was really interesting and kind of wanted to help somehow, and I needed some help putting
to
out
release
this.
Yeah.
I had already put out 3 albums and 4 tapes so far up to that point,
Yeah.
and I needed a partner
Yeah.
to get more records pressed and to kind of keep it going while the rest of the stuff circulated, right?
Right.
So, you listened to the band and we talked
said,
a lot
I'm
about
in.
it, and this is really cool stuff, and talked about kind of the mission of the label. No one is putting out vinyl from Mexican bands here in the U.S. No one's doing it, and this band's fucking awesome, and we got to put this out.
And you told me the story about the one guy who had some success at kind of cornering
Right,
this area.
man. Yeah, we should rap about that for a minute.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's a very valid point.
There used to be. I imagine people that are going to be listening to this are familiar with
Okay,
this. There was a website called allthatisheavy.com.
Okay.
Okay, and it was like, I think it kind of morphed. I think there was stonerrock.com, and then that morphed into all that is
that's
heavy.
Okay.
So what he was doing was he had this huge website that had album reviews, write-ups, blogs, videos, and he sold merch, and he started importing a lot of stuff from European labels to be sold here in the U.S. because it's hard to get without a distributor.
Sure.
So he kind of saw this void and started filling it, right?
Yeah.
And I don't. Maybe somebody will correct me. I'm not sure that he started putting out original releases. I think he was just working as
mostly
like
imports and just getting
imports and like an all under one
distributor.
roof.
He was a distributor at that point, not a record company, but
like he was your online retailer who imported all this stuff and kind of the one-stop shopping for doom, stoner, sludge, psychedelic on vinyl that you couldn't find anywhere else. He had it.
Yeah.
And then through a series of I don't know, I don't want to like get too much into the dude's business, but a lot of, suddenly things stopped working.
Yeah.
And he I think he got into some fights with some people and
the distribution.
I think maybe he kind of overexpanded and
right.
Just like he had a great idea and he had a great thing that he was doing, but I think maybe he just overexpanded and got too much and wasn't able to
do.
He had this thing, it didn't quite work out, and then he had to shut it all down.
Right.
And that left a big
hole. A gap because those people, the people he was providing that for, really wanted that.
That's right. So,
and there was the only person doing it.
Yeah, and the only other way to get it is to order it from Europe. And like we had talked about before, you're paying an extra $20-$30 for shipping just to get that shit over here.
Yeah.
And so there were even if you buy it on Amazon, it's super expensive because it's got that charge on there. So it's really hard to find a lot of this stuff from these European labels, South American bands.
Yeah.
Available easy here in the U.S.
They're South American, but you have to buy it from a European label.
From a European label and get it shipped over here so that you can enjoy it here. And
instead of just going to
isn't that fucked up? So when he kind of pulled back from it and that kind of shut down, there weren't a lot of people that kind of jumped in and filled it.
Yeah.
There was there's a small company out of San Antonio. He's done a lot of it where he's importing a lot of stuff and he's done some original stuff. He's called the Cosmic Peddler.
Okay.
He's kind of filled in the void that guy left a little bit.
Right.
And
well, I mean, at this point, we're starting to as well.
That's what we're doing too. Is not only do we release original stuff like this, but we also import vinyl from Europe. That's really hard to find here in the U.S. otherwise.
Well, it's a good because you have your audience. You have an audience, and you just got to pay attention to them.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, what do you guys want to hear? What are you telling me?
Yeah.
You guys, because they will tell you.
Yeah.
This fan base will tell you what they want to hear. Yeah.
So that's kind of how we got to Weedsnake. So let's talk about this release.
Yeah.
So we did 2 versions of this. We did the colored vinyl. So you pull that one out and take a look at it. We did this purple silver splatter, which
So
came
this
out.
is
This
this
is the
another
color-
version of that, right? Of the
Well,
of
no,
the,
it's not
this was
eco
on more on
mix.
purpose.
That's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
I
we
know.
specifically asked for those colors. That's what the
Man,
band
look
wanted.
at here. Look at
Was
that.
purple
Look at that
and
shit.
silver. See how that purple is more purple than the
It
other
is
one?
more purple
Yeah,
than
it's not translucent fucking pink. It's
no,
purple
I'm gone and I'm back.
with the silver splatter. Like it
Gone
looks
and I'm back.
really good. I
That
think
does. It
came out
looks. You
pretty
can
well.
see it gleam in the light.
And this version, the colored version, also comes with. It comes with a sticker and it comes with this poster.
So yeah. Let's see the
So
the
yeah,
poster work.
I took this picture of the band when they played on Halloween.
Nice.
That's from the Halloween show. They're all in Halloween costumes right there.
That's every. We had how many of those pictures in our walls
Right.
growing up as a kid?
And then it comes with this lyric sheet.
Nice.
And then we also have it on
Who
black.
came up with that?
Doing the
sheet?
lyric sheet, this was my idea. We were trying to think of like special
What is that?
extra things
Yeah.
to
What is that
include.
symbol? Hold it up. Let's just show it.
Oh,
What
check
is
it
that
out.
symbol behind it? What's
That's that's their sigil. They made that. That's their magical sigil for Weedsnake. Yeah, every
So-
magician has to make their own sigil,
Okay.
and that's Weedsnake's sigil.
Were they ever planning on using it? You said, let's put it on your. Let's put it on your.
Yeah, they've got this on their T-shirts, and they've got
Yeah.
some stickers with this. But
That's the perfect place for it.
they had, and we used this on the insert. Pull the insert out, and
Oh,
you
okay.
can see it. We use it on there as well.
On the.
No, the-
yeah,
it's in there, yeah.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah, I think it's
Got
also
it.
on the insert.
What the fuck? There it is.
Yeah, see on the corners.
Okay.
They've
Yeah.
got different
Yeah.
sigils that they made.
Yeah.
It's
But that's a
different
cool
than this one,
poster
but
too. I would put that up. You know, put
Yeah,
it. You
that's
could
the
frame that.
insert.
You
That's-
could frame that.
that's pretty cool.
That's pretty dope.
So their bass player is a tattoo artist, and he designed that.
Okay, so
And he also designed this cover like he did. So I think I did that. The back of
backside.
the
Yeah,
insert,
that's a good
and
backside.
Fury did that,
That's a good packaging.
and he gave me all these graphics, but I put the lyric sheet
And the
together.
so how did you? Because the font coloring works well with it plays well with the coloring of the record itself.
Yeah,
It's pretty amazing. It's spot on. I know. Hold on. Let me. So if you can see, I don't know if you can see it here, but if you look at how that purple plays with the,
it's a good
it's a good
color
packaging.
combo. Yeah, it looks good.
It's stout. It's very.
yeah,
It's psychedelic. It's got that. It's got some thought behind it.
yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
right. Yeah. Well, they're I think several, if not all, the members of the band are tattoo artists and graphic
Yeah.
designers
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and creative people. So they put a lot of thought into how they wanted this to look.
So this band can lead us into a good topic to end on.
Okay.
Because we wanted to try to get Weedsnake to
That's
play
right.
live.
So we want to talk about that a little bit right
Let's
now.
talk about a little
Okay.
bit about why
Yeah. So
you have never heard of some of these
why,
bands.
yeah, why the fuck have you never seen Weedsnake play at Three Links or something,
Yeah,
right?
yes,
Or
yeah.
your favorite local heavy metal?
Well, you would probably love to see them.
So, part of putting this album out is like, okay, we like this band, we'll put out an album, and then they can come play shows,
Yeah.
and that'll help promote it. Like, that's the standard rock and roll
That's
thing.
how
That's
you
how you fucking do it,
yeah,
right?
Right.
You
Right.
put out a record, you play shows, you sell T-shirts, and everything's still...
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's the standard formula, so that's what we wanted to do.
Right.
Well, as soon as I started researching that topic of like, okay, how does a Mexican band come
Yeah.
to the U.S. and play shows?
Right.
And how come we never have a lot of Mexican bands come to the U.S. and play shows? There's some occasionally, but not very many.
When you said
I
that,
wonder
I was
why
like,
that is.
I don't. Yeah.
That's right, man. So started looking it up, like, okay, how does this work? How do you legally
Yeah.
get a band from Mexico into the U.S. to play shows? So when I started looking up how to do that, it turns
How to
out,
get them into the country?
yeah, it's
yeah.
a massive, massive pain in the ass. So the way it fucking works,
Yeah,
dog.
yeah.
So look,
And just to say, let's preface this by saying you offered this to every band,
yeah. So yeah, we'll get to that.
and Weedsnake was the only band. You're like, hey, let's figure out. I think
Right.
they
So
might have all known how difficult it was.
yeah.
Already.
So I figured out how you do it. Like they can there's three ways.
Yeah.
They can either come here on an artist visa, where with their application, they have to say that they're artists and that they're going to bring special, unique cultural perspectives from Mexico here to the citizens of the U.S.
Yes. Smoke weed, listen to Doom.
Yeah, right. I could just see that one. The other one is they come on like a work permit,
Right.
where we have to set up a W-2 for them and all that stuff, right?
They got to get an HR.
Yeah,
they
like
gotta
the whole deal. Like they got to be
gotta
employees
take out
that we're
taxes.
paying and all that. Like that's how most workers do it. Is a company has to sponsor them.
But they're already set up for that.
They're already set up.
Yeah.
They've got lawyers and accountants, and they've got
They hope they are.
deep pockets to pay for that shit.
Yeah.
So the other way is a tourist visa, but if they come on a tourist visa, then they can't get paid.
Right.
They're
not
they
supposed to be
can't
working.
legally get paid. Like
Right.
if they get caught with an extra $20 in their pocket, it's a fucking crime.
Where'd you get that money from?
Where'd you get that money from, son? Oh, I played a doom metal show. Oh, sure you did.
I built a house.
So, okay, so I looked into, okay, well, how do you actually fucking do that?
Yeah.
So I talked to an immigration lawyer. The lady was really nice. I talked to her for about an hour. She gave me a free consultation.
That's cool.
And at that point, I had basically invited all the bands on the label. At that point we had 4, and they were all, we want to come to the U.S. We want to play.
Right.
I'm like, okay, that's great. Let's fucking do that. So what they have to do on their end is fill out applications and get appointments for interviews at the U.S. consulate.
To see if they're candidates.
See if they can fucking get here.
Yeah.
On either of those types of visas that we talked about.
So an interview happens regardless.
Yeah, on no matter the visa. Yeah, work or
okay,
vacation or tourist.
Yeah.
So I talked to that lawyer, nice lady. We spoke for a really long time, and she told me, like, okay, here's how it is. It's going to take about 2 or 3 years, and it's going to cost you $10,000
And then they can come
to bring up these 12 dudes
for just the travel or just the tourist, not
no,
the work.
I think that was the artist visa.
That was the artist visa.
She was like, okay, well, I described the situation to her. I said, okay, I've got these bands, blah, blah, blah. She said, well, rather than try to bring them up as employees, bring them in as artists.
Oh, she already knew the loophole.
She knew how to do it. She said, this is a better way to do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you've got to prove all this extra stuff, and
Yeah.
we're just not set up for that as a company. We're just not.
Yeah.
So it would have been like a cultural exchange thing. And she said, okay, it's going to take 3 years and cost $10,000.
Why 3 years though? That's so
That's,
weird.
That's just how long the
That's
whole
just how the process takes.
takes. It's like, well, fuck. I don't fucking have $10,000 to. That's the whole budget
Well,
to bring 12 dudes up here and like put them in a van and
Which one do you think is
gig
the
around?
more?
Like that's gonna.
I like how you went towards the 10,000. I was like 3 years, but they're both a problem. Which one do you
They're
find more
both a problem.
problematic?
The more problematic is the money.
Is the money? Yeah.
Yeah, because we can wait. Okay, it takes 3 years. It takes 3 years. Let's hope the band gets along that long, and like
still
we're the
exist.
company's still putting out. Like we can all make it that far.
Because that's what I worried about.
Right.
The
Let's
10,000. I was like, okay.
let's just say that we hold it. Everybody involved fucking holds it together that long.
Yeah.
And we can do that. Then you got to pay for it all, and that's the real fucking problem. Is
Because if you pay for it probably up front, right?
Oh yeah, well that's just a fucking lawyer.
Yeah, to get it done.
Never mind, that's not even the application
That's what
fees
they
and
want.
the visa fees, and then their flights, and then how do we feed them, and whether they're all gonna fucking stay here. You know what I'm saying? So I was willing to explore all of that and solve all those problems, but
we couldn't even get it.
It just wasn't gonna happen. Okay, so welcome back.
Yeah,
obviously,
so this is awkward.
Yeah, this is awkward. This is so we had some technical issues during the last segment of our first episode. So you might not know this, but we're several episodes into
the future, people.
And as I was putting it all together, I saw that there were a lot of problems. We had some cameras not work. Our recording situation turned tits up on us, and so the last bit, our conclusion to the episode, didn't get recorded.
So we're going to conclude it now.
We're going to conclude it now.
Yeah.
Okay, so
the idea of Things from Beyond, it's a physical medium. We want to do artwork, we want to do records, and doom metal works perfect with physical. I mean, the people demand physical records, and we've got a whole catalog here of official Things from Beyond records.
Yeah. So our stuff, we have a lot of bands from Mexico. We've got some new stuff coming from Peru in the future. So that's where a lot of our bands come from, and that's a lot of the stuff that we support.
Right.
As well as in the shop, I've got other stuff that I've imported from other labels in Europe.
Right.
All over the wide world. all doom, heavy psych, stoner rock.
Yeah.
All kinds of amazing stuff. So that's what Things from Beyond is a unique record label and a store, a one-stop shopping for the best in international doom.
We could spend a whole episode on going through the rigmarole you had to go through to even fail at attempting to get a band to come up here.
Yeah, it's a fucking nightmare trying to get a band up from Mexico.
Yeah.
But absolutely, we could do a whole show on that. What a nightmare that is. So that's why you've never got to hear Satanico Pandemonium play in your town.
Right.
Because it's next to impossible to get the fucking visa situation sorted right now.
So they can actually be here to play.
Yeah. So, but we're gonna do what we can to keep our bands in your face, in your ears. We're gonna bring you new stuff. It's all gonna be featured here on this podcast.
But our very next thing though is for people who might stumble across us, we're gonna give a little history of the professor's going to give us a little history lesson.
Yeah, we're going to do some history
the origins
of
Doom, the throughputs, where this whole lovely genre comes from.
Yeah, and we're gonna do little tours of continents.
Right.
We're gonna do a South America show. We're gonna do a Europe show.
Okay.
We'll do a North America show. We're gonna go all over the wide world and fucking spill it
to demonstrate how this music is everywhere.
Yeah, it's worldwide.
Yeah.
Every corner of the earth is got some doom going on.
Nice. You'll understand that next week with the origins. So tune in for the next episode. And that's it for episode 1, man.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that was great. Well, even though we're several episodes down the street, we're just pretending that this is the end of the first episode. So we had to redo it.
Go ahead and like and subscribe. If you've already done it, just do it again, because this is messages from the future. All right. Okay. All right. See you next time then.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right.
That's it.
That's some bullshit, man. That record store ain't got nothing heavy.
Nothing heavy at all, man. I need some real shit, man.
I need something mainline heavy.
Yeah, some doom. I need some riffs, man.
Drop like an atom bomb heavy.
Some doom, dude. I want my mind vaporized. I want to be in outer space right now. You dig it?
Yeah.
Hey, I got what you need. What the hell do you want, spaceman? Y'all looking for that real shit?
Yeah.
Y'all looking for that heavy shit, that doom shit?
Yeah.
Y'all looking for those sweet, tasty, sticky riffs that'll totally fuck you up?
Hit me with it, spaceman.
Hit me with that real shit, that doom. Check this shit out. Things from beyond, motherfuckers.
Things from beyond.
Things from beyond.
Things from beyond.
Things from beyond. How you feeling now? That heavy enough for you? Got that fuzzy kind of feeling?
Bro, that's heavy. That hits hard.
Yeah, man, that's some real heavy shit. Some real doom. Things from beyond, motherfuckers. Things from beyond!